So we've all seen hashtag relationship goals, right? Maybe I'm just kind of showing my age, but we can feel like there are certain benchmarks or checkpoints where our relationship should be by a certain time. The problem with the idea of relationship goals is that they often focus on the outcomes rather than the processes. We get so fixated on the end result that we can become blind to the little steps and actions that are needed to happen along the way. But when you shift your mindset to systems thinking, you can start prioritizing these daily habits and routines that ultimately lead to a truly deep, strong, resilient, and more fulfilling relationship. So in this video, I'm going to break down what systems thinking in relationships is and how you can use it instead of relationship goals. You know, if you think about it, it's like when you're trying to lose weight. You set a goal of losing 20 pounds, and that can seem daunting and discouraging if you don't see those results immediately. But if you focus on implementing healthy eating and exercise habits into your daily routine, the weight loss naturally follows as an emergent property of your system, right? Your system is the exercise itself, and the emergent property, the outcome, is the weight loss. And this same principle applies to relationships. We often set these lofty, idealistic goals of constant passion and mind-reading levels of understanding and unwavering commitment. But relationships are complex, dynamic systems with many interacting components. When one of those nodes gets out of whack, like poor communication or quality time, it throws the whole system into disarray. So this is where systems thinking comes in. Instead of fixating on an idealistic outcome, systems thinking looks at the relationships as a complex, interconnected whole made up of many different components or nodes. So these nodes are constantly interacting and influencing each other, much like how turning your car key sets off a chain reaction to get the engine running. It's not just one thing, right? So in a relationship, these nodes can be things like your communication patterns, how you handle conflict, your individual stress levels, your emotional levels, even external factors like your work schedules or the financial situation. Each of these nodes feeds into and affects the others. So for example, let's say you're like me, you're an ADHDer, and you've struggled with emotional regulation at times, and you've gotten upset during arguments. That internal emotion node is going to negatively impact the communication node, which then spills over into creating more individual stress on your partner, on yourself, which in turn fuels more emotionally charged discussions, right? It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle, a feedback loop. But this is where the power of systems thinking comes in. By zooming out and looking at the cycle from a holistic perspective, you can start to identify leverage points and those key nodes where making a small tweak can ripple out and create positive change throughout the whole system. So for example, instead of saying our goal is to stop fighting, which just focuses on the outcome, you can use systems thinking to look at the nodes that influence it. It looks like stress is a major node that's triggering a lot of our fights. What if we implement some stress reduction habits into our daily routines like meditation or exercise? Or what I can do is to start to be a bit more mindful about what I'm doing and start to regulate my own emotions. And that can help stabilize the emotion and communication nodes too. The beauty of this approach is that it avoids placing blame on any one partner or expecting some magical cure-all solution. You blame the system, and then you can both approach the problem within the system. By being aware of how those various nodes influence each other, you can start to troubleshoot issues much more effectively. So you're not trying to change who each partner fundamentally is, but rather looking at how you can adjust the system around them to bring out the best in both people and cultivate the thriving relationship. It's about understanding that your relationship doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's a living, breathing, dynamic system. So if you feel like you've been beating your head against a wall trying to force your relationship to conform to some arbitrary hashtag goals, systems thinking offers a different perspective shift. It empowers you to stop fixating on perfection and instead start nurturing the small daily choices and habits that will genuinely transform your relationship from the inside out. Now, this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually put this into practice? So let's dive into mapping out your relationship system. This is where you really start to put systems thinking into action. The first step is to get clear on what nodes make up your unique relationship system. Grab a piece of paper and start brainstorming all of the different nodes or components that influence your relationship dynamics. These could be physical nodes like your energy levels, your sleep habits, your diet and exercise routines. How do those factors affect how you show up for each other? Then think about emotional nodes like your communication patterns, how you express affection, or your individual stress management strategies. If you're an ADHDer, emotional regulation nodes can be a major player in any relationship system. And maybe when you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, it impacts how you interact with your partner. And don't forget about intellectual nodes too, like your shared values, your beliefs, your interests, how you navigate differences and challenges in those areas. One of the intellectual nodes in relationships is the approach to finances, for example. So if you're a fellow ADHD, the ADHD brain can struggle when it comes to organization with finances. Or maybe a neurotypical partner will be more of a natural saver and planner. So recognizing these differences as a node rather than a personal failing will help you to find strategies to get on the same page. It's also crucial to consider external factors and how they act as nodes in your relationship ecosystem. So this could be things like your work schedules, your family dynamics, your social support systems, cultural influences, even your physical living environment. For example, let's say you move in together and your creative, carefree idea of living clashes with your partner's need for quiet, clutter-free zones to decompress. That physical environment node can cause friction, but once we've identified it, we can find a win-win solution that fulfills the need for both of you. So the key here is to really get curious and dig deep. Ask your partner, speak to your partner about it, and be vulnerable in considering how your own patterns and habits, as well as your partner's, are all nodes in the system. And it's really important to resist the urge to label any of these nodes good or bad. They're just all puzzle pieces that fit in together to create your relationship landscape. And as you're mapping out these nodes, reflect on how they're currently interacting and influencing each other. So where are the pain points or areas of tension? Where are the bright spots and the strengths? This is your chance to zoom out and objectively assess your relationship system without judgment or blame. And this can be incredibly eye-opening. We can internalize a lot of frustration around ourselves or our partners, the way that we show up. But by recognizing our own strengths and our own weaknesses as neutral nodes in the system, rather than character flaws, we can depersonalize these issues and be a lot more solution oriented. And once you have your relationship system mapped out, it's time to put on your detective hat and start identifying patterns and leverage points. Where are the ripple effects happening? Like how an argument over household chores can spiral into resentment and disconnection if you're not careful. And this is also where you can start spotting opportunities for positive change. Maybe instituting a shared calendar system to manage household tasks would help streamline that node and reduce conflict, or perhaps carving out regular quality time together to nurture your emotional intimacy nodes could help buffer against external stresses. So approach this process with a spirit of curiosity and collaboration with your partner. Remember, you're not trying to fix each other or force rigid goals. You're learning how to work with your natural wiring and co-create a relationship system that brings out the best in both of you. Mapping your relationship system gives you such a rich, nuanced understanding of your partnership. But this isn't just a one and done exercise. Your relationship is a living, evolving system. So it's important to recognize that. Developing your systems thinking and applying it to your relationship is a crucial relationship skill. And this systems thinking is what I work with my ultra normal members. And if you do want a deeper dive into turning around your relationship, no matter what state it's in, then join us on my free relationship bootcamp. Click on the link in the description to take the next step. So how do you put these insights into action and actually start optimizing your system? Well, ensure that you both see the bigger picture. So now that you've got your relationship system mapped out, it's time to roll up your sleeves and start putting those insights into action. The first step is to sit down with your partner and review your system map together. This is where you really start collaborating and getting on the same page. And as you're looking at all the different nodes and how they interact, start identifying specific areas where you want to focus your energy. So this might mean honing in on nodes related to emotional regulation or time management or communication. Work together to brainstorm small practical changes that you can make to optimize those nodes. So for example, let's say you identified a node around your morning routines, always feeling rushed and chaotic, which then sets a stressful tone for the rest of the day. You might decide to implement a new habit of laying out your clothes and packing lunches the night before, or setting your alarm 15 minutes earlier to allow for some buffer time. Small steps like that can make a big difference in smoothing out that morning routine node. Another key strategy is scheduling regular sort of state of the union or post-mortem check-ins where you revisit your system map and assess how things are going. This could be a weekly coffee date or a monthly relationship review where you celebrate wins, troubleshoot challenges, and recalibrate as needed. The goal is to approach your relationship as an ongoing process of growth and discovery rather than a destination to be reached. As an ADHD, I find it helpful to lean on external structures and visual cues to stay on track with implementing changes. Things like setting phone reminders, using a shared digital calendar for important relationship priorities, or even posting your system map somewhere prominent. This helps to keep those intentions front and center amidst the daily grind. It can be very easy to get lost in the daily ins and outs and forget the overall system that you're cultivating. And again, it's important to approach this process with a spirit of experimentation and playfulness. You're not going to overhaul your entire relationship overnight. And that's okay. Focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate the small victories and learn from the stumbles. Remember, this is your relationship system, and this is between you and your partner. So trust the insights that you've uncovered in your own system, and don't be afraid to think outside the box, and don't compare yourself to other people's relationships. So for example, maybe a weekly date night doesn't really align with your schedules or energy levels. So instead, you could possibly focus on creating short 2-hour chunks of time to go on a walk without phones and reconnect, or maybe an hour free to simply enjoy a chat over morning coffee. The key is finding what feels authentic and sustainable for both of you. And it's crucial that you have a mutual buy-in, because ultimately this is a system that works for both of you, not just one person's needs or another person's needs. This is about you two communicating, digging down on what your needs are and what nodes need to be tweaked, and developing that system. At its core, implementing relationship systems is about being intentional and proactive in nurturing your bond. It's a commitment to show up for each other day in and day out, and viewing challenges as opportunities for growth and connection. With practice and patience and systems thinking, this can truly transform the way that you approach your relationship. But be careful how you communicate during these conversations, because even though you're ultimately trying to help the relationship, it can be misinterpreted as maybe you trying to take control. And if you want a deeper dive on how to handle conversations where your partner may be sensitive to the way that you speak, I'm going to leave you with this video right here. I'll see you over there.